The Treasure Valley, Idaho. We live in such a beautiful state with so many privileges and opportunities. And from here, well, it just all looks so picturesque and perfect. But what you cannot see from this distance are the Idaho youth and their families suffering with traumas. Traumas that need help and support, services that the Idaho Youth Ranch can provide. In the next half hour, we are going to take you beyond the thrift of the Idaho Youth Ranch, learning how they are not only helping our youth survive, but also thrive. And we'll discover the role that you play in helping to make sure Idaho's youth get the support they need for decades to come by supporting the Idaho Youth Ranch Residential Center for Healing and Resilience. Together, we can bring Idaho's kids home. Welcome to the half-hour special of Bringing Idaho's Kids Home, sponsored by the Idaho Youth Ranch. I know we're all familiar with the Idaho Youth Ranch thrift stores, but did you know that those stores fund crucial life-saving services for Idaho's youth? Idaho Youth Ranch provides counseling and services to youth all over the state, both in person as well as via telemental health services. They provide outpatient care, including equine-assisted psychotherapy for both youth in the Treasure Valley as well as North Idaho. And here in Boise, they operate the only 24/7 shelter for runaway and homeless youth. All of these services are crucial because Idaho's youth are hurting. According to the Idaho Youth Ranch, our state is one of the leading states in negative issues facing youth, including abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. The Idaho Youth Ranch shared a recent study on Idaho high school students, and that study showed that 1 in 10 attempted suicide in the last 12 months, and 1 in 5 intentionally hurt themselves. But perhaps the most concerning point of this information is the fact that this study was done before the pandemic. Earlier this year, I talked to Jeff Myers of the Idaho Youth Ranch about the options that Idaho's youth have when it comes to finding help.
For most kids, they can get the help they need through the short-term residential or through the outpatient therapy that Idaho Youth Ranch and others provide. But unfortunately, for about 120 kids, just those on Medicaid alone, it's not enough for them and they need long-term residential. And the answer is, there isn't an answer in Idaho. And so those kids are being sent as far away as Florida and Georgia to get the help that they need. And unfortunately, we also know that the long-term success for those kids goes down when you can't involve the families in the treatment, when you create that additional separation, when you don't have therapist continuity. You just don't get the long-term success that we really owe these kids, and we need to bring them back home to Idaho to get the help they need.
And Jeff, you're so right. It is time to bring Idaho's kids home. So tell us about the groundbreaking of your new building.
We are so excited to break ground on the Idaho Youth Ranch Residential Center for Healing and Resilience. It's time to bring those kids home. And in the fall or winter of 22, we'll be opening the new facility and welcoming Idaho's kids back home.
And Jeff, how can people support the Idaho Youth Ranch?
Youthranch.org, and you can give a one-time gift, or even better, sign up for monthly giving. You can give $10 a month or $100. Every dollar makes a difference, and together we can bring Idaho's kids home and give them the healing and hope they need.
And you can help provide that healing and hope by donating right now to the Idaho Youth Ranch Capital Campaign, funding the build of the Residential Center for Healing and Resilience.
I'm Scott Curtis, and I have the privilege of being the CEO of Idaho Youth Ranch. So what we're building is a 64-bed facility with everything needed to provide 24-hour care for these young people, be that nursing, the therapeutic center, year-round schooling, recreation center, dining hall, 4 residential wings that will be made to feel like home for these young people while they're here.
Make your donation right now at bringidahoskids.home.org. Well, coming up, we're going to take a closer look at the challenges in Idaho that are putting youth at risk and learn how we can all help ensure their safety. Idaho is such a proud state with so many wonderful assets, but one area that really needs our attention is Idaho's youth struggling with trauma. The Idaho Youth Ranch wants to ensure that every child in our state has a chance at a promising future. Scott, we hear more and more about childhood trauma and adverse experiences. Can you explain further what these terms mean?
Yeah, well, first of all, this term people are hearing, which is ACEs. ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And that's based on a landmark study from the late 90s and research since then. And that was done on 17,000 adults by the CDC and Kaiser Permanente. And what they looked at was 10 adverse experiences a child might experience and how they have lifetime impacts. And those 10 things were things such as being abused physically, sexually, or emotionally, having poverty in the household, or having household dysfunction like mental illness in the household, or an incarcerated relative. There were 10 of these things that they looked at, and because the study was on adults and it was a look back, they could say, what's the correlation between these ACEs and behavioral health outcomes? That included everything from cancer and diabetes rates to things like suicide and substance abuse.
Wow, okay, so what does this look like for the state of Idaho?
Idaho's numbers surprised some of us, especially those of us that grew up here. There's only 4 states that have a higher rate of childhood trauma than Idaho when you look at kids that have 3 or more ACEs. And our recent information from the Department of Health and Welfare said that the number of kids in Idaho that have 4 or more ACEs is just about double the national average.
Wow, okay, that's shocking.
It is.
What does that mean then? Let's talk about the impacts that Idaho's youth faces then having had these adverse childhood experiences.
Yeah, I think this science really helps, as data, really helps us make sense of other things we're hearing, like that Idaho's top 10 in the nation for youth suicide and things like that. So how it impacts kids, many kids can overcome these traumatic events, and I just want to put a plug in here again for adults. Be involved in every kid's life that you can, because the most protective factor that helps kid overcome trauma is caring relationships with adults, whether or not they're their own parents. So coaches and teachers and church leaders get involved with kids. But the other thing that happens is many of these kids don't overcome them well, and they learn some negative patterns which are really about survival. So when you're facing a stressful situation, any of us, if it becomes too stressful, we get into fight or flight mode. So our brain gets flooded with chemicals that really help us to move quickly and get out of the situation, but don't necessarily help us think through it and process through it. So we need to find ways when kids are experiencing trauma, especially repeatedly, to help them process through that in healthy ways that don't then impact the rest of their lives.
And if they have these experiences, what does the outcome look like potentially as they become an adult? What does that mean for Idaho and our communities?
We're actually seeing the effects because we have a lot of adults that had these experiences. We have a higher rate of ACEs among our adults. So it is everything from substance abuse. You know, an adult that had 4 or more ACEs, they're 12 times more likely to take their own life. And other things like cancer and diabetes, because of the way the brain and the adaptive nature of dealing with trauma, even when they control for nutrition and behavior, those are significantly elevated.
Really? So even if they eat well and go to the gym every day and are trying to be physically healthy, just because of that emotional stress of what they went through, it increases the potential for health challenges.
Yes, exactly. And how quickly they get dysregulated in the face of stress as an adult is related to how they dealt with these things as a child, and if they were helped or not to get through them in a healthy way.
So Scott, how do we change this? How do we make a difference and improve on this?
Well, I mentioned adults in kids' lives, that's important. Keep them involved in activities. We need to reduce the number of ACEs kids are experiencing, that's important. But when kids experience ACEs, they need high quality treatment. So it needs to be trauma-informed or trauma-focused care.
Okay, and where can people go to learn more about the Idaho Youth Ranch?
Our website, youthranch.org, is really the best spot.
It's an unfortunate truth that many of Idaho's teens are struggling to find a safe place. But the Idaho Youth Ranch is working hard to change that. Scott, recently the Idaho Youth Ranch has launched Safe Place. Explain what that is.
Well, Safe Place is a coordination of national businesses and organizations all across the country that want to be designated as safe places, and they're willing to have a yellow placard placed at their location, and then anytime a young person is in crisis or needs help, they know that's a place that they can walk into and say, I need help. And when that happens here with any Safe Place organization we're working with, they know that they just need to call Idaho Youth Ranch, and we immediately get there and help take care of the child.
Okay, so if a child in crisis, a youth in crisis, is not able to make it here to the Hayes House, they can go to a safe place, and then they will be put in contact with the Idaho Youth Ranch.
That's right, and our staff will come get them, they'll bring them to our Hayes shelter house, assess the situation, and provide the support they need.
Okay, so if there is youth watching right now and they are in crisis, or perhaps somebody watching knows a youth in crisis, what should they do?
Well, one thing is they should know that it really is serious, right? They need to get help. This isn't a safe situation to be in. So either go to a safe place that has one of those placards, or they can actually text. They can text the word SAFE, S-A-F-E, and their address to 4HELP. That's the number 4, H-E-L-P. And what that does is it connects them to the nearest safe place near that youth. And like I said, we'll then be contacted and we will come help them.
And this is something that is just launched here in Idaho, but you had mentioned it's a national network. So
that's right.
What else does that mean then?
Well, we're really happy to have brought it to Idaho, but that text information I just shared with you, that means a youth anywhere in the country can use that same text address, and it will connect them to the closest safe place. And we've already had a young person that was traveling through the Treasure Valley, had been in another part of the country, had suffered from sex trafficking, and happened to be traveling through the Treasure Valley and texted that number, and we were able to help them.
How big of a problem, how big of an issue is this in our state?
Yeah, it's a bigger issue than most of us want to know. A couple of years ago, the data showed that we had about 8,000 Idaho students that were homeless. Now, many of them are sleeping at friends' houses with relatives, couch surfing, or in shelters. But about 400 of those were actually truly unsheltered youth. It's a very risky spot for people to be in, Melissa. So young people, even if they're couch surfing, they're very vulnerable to a lot of negative situations.
And let's talk though too about those safe places, because I know the Idaho Youth Ranch, your thrift stores that we're all very familiar with, those are safe places. You can see the placards in the windows. But if there are other businesses or organizations that want to participate and help and be a safe place as well, what are the requirements?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So it's really simple, and we're working with other businesses to get them to have those yellow placards. It's really simple. We do the brief training with them, and they just agree that if a young person comes in, they will put them in a stable spot somewhere in the business or organization, and they will call us, and we will get our staff there, and we take it from there.
Great. And if people want to know more about the Idaho Youth Ranch and also about Safe Place, where do they go?
The best place is our website. That's youthranch.org.
And a safe place isn't the only solution Idaho Youth Ranch is building for kids. Right now, they are creating a brighter tomorrow for current and future generations by constructing a residential center for healing and resilience. This center will keep Idaho's kids in Idaho so they can receive the long-term residential care that they need without having to go out of state. According to the Idaho Youth Ranch, every 3 days, a kid in Idaho is sent out of state for treatment. It's a fact that some local parents know all too well.
I looked at a couple of facilities for Porter that he was not comfortable in. It seemed hospital-y, like a medical facility, and it scared him to death. I was blown away in coming here thinking, wow, how comfortable he could be living here and being able to have that safe place to relax and just be would have been amazing.
You can make a difference by going to bringidahoskidzhome.org to donate and learn more. After the break, we introduce you to Idaho Youth Ranch Hayes House, and finally, we take you to the site of hope, the future home of Idaho Youth Ranch's residential center for healing and resilience. The word home should conjure the feeling of warmth and security, a place where someone feels cared for. But unfortunately, that is not the reality for some of Idaho's teens. And that's why the Idaho Youth Ranch has created Hayes House. Scott, we're standing outside of the beautiful Hayes House, a very unique program offered by the Idaho Youth Ranch. So tell us a little more about it.
Thanks, Melissa. The Idaho Youth Ranch Hayes Shelter House is one of a kind in the Treasure Valley. It is the only place where an unaccompanied youth who's in crisis can come and be sheltered and taken care of.
And tell us a little more about the services here at the Hayes House. What can a youth expect when they arrive?
Well, any young person ages 9 through 17 can come to Hayes Shelter, and we will provide housing, meals, and things like that, of course, but also we provide for their therapeutic needs. We have licensed therapists that work with the kids. They get equine therapy and horsemanship, but we also try to wrap around our services so that everything in their life that can be stable is stable. So we will keep them in their schools. We will keep them in their activities and provide all the transportation and support needed while we're working with them and their families, or sometimes the system, the Department of Health and Welfare, or whomever we need to work with to provide for the housing crisis that they're in.
So this becomes their home.
It really does for the time that they're here. We really want them to feel nurtured and cared for, and most importantly, have relationships with caring adults that can help them work through the trauma that they're experiencing.
Okay, and so for those teens that are finding themselves on the street or on and off again, perhaps they're trying to escape a dangerous situation, what do you say to them right now?
Well, first of all, I say get help, because they really are in a dangerous situation. Many people don't understand that when a young person is either living on the streets or couch surfing, they're incredibly vulnerable. So get help. You can come here. We're on Poplar Street. You can come and ring the doorbell and we'll help take care of you. You can also go to youthranch.org and we'll find a way to help you.
And I know when youth come here, when people come here and they ring that doorbell, they're not only greeted by amazing people, but also very unique and amazing staff, some that are kind of furry.
That's right. We have two very special staff that are coming to visit us right now. This is one of them. This is Bear, and Maeve is coming over, and they are the first ones to greet every kid that arrives. When that doorbell rings, these dogs rush the door, and then they accompany them through their whole time here.
And I can just imagine the relief that someone must feel when they come to the door and they see Bear's face, right?
Oh yeah, the kids immediately embrace this because it's something comfortable, comforting, and it tells them this place is going to be okay.
So Scott, for those who are lucky enough to not have to utilize the services of the Idaho Youth Ranch, but they want to be a part of it, they want to help, they want to support, what can they do?
Thank you. At youthranch.org, there are ways to click on the links to help support. You can volunteer, you can become an advocate, you can donate your goods, and you can also donate your money if that's a way you can help.
Help. That is what Idaho's youth need, especially when it comes to long-term residential services. Right now, there is no solution for long-term services in our state, which means that Idaho's youth, who are already dealing with trauma, have to face another trauma of being sent out of state in a time of need. That is why the Idaho Youth Ranch is building a residential center for healing and resilience, so we can bring Idaho's kids home. Scott and Ruth, we are here at a very special location. This is where the new Idaho Youth Ranch Residential Center for Healing and Resilience is being built. So what makes this so special?
This is really an incredible place that we're at. First of all, right near Middleton, Idaho, 258 acres. One of the things that's most special about it is how much it screams Idaho. There is forest land, there are streams, there are ponds, there's pasture, there's ag land. We really have all of Idaho represented here on this great campus. And we're building something phenomenal. We're building Idaho's residential center for kids, and we're going to serve kids from all over the state. And to do that, we need to build residence halls, a year-round school, the therapeutic and wellness center, a dining hall, and all of the other services that these kids need to be healthy and to build the relationships with caring adults that are so important for kids that are struggling.
And Ruth, what makes this so incredibly important on top of everything Scott just said is that the unfortunate truth is that too many of Idaho's families, parents, have to make a decision to send their kids hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles away from home to get the help that they need. Help us understand what that's like for moms and dads to have to make a decision like that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you from personal experience, it's excruciating. It's heart-wrenching. Because what you're really trying to do is get the best help to heal your child that you can get. And when you're told that that is away from the community that they know, your own supports as a family, it's really, really devastating.
Yeah, I can imagine that's probably just even more stress on top of what they're dealing with.
Absolutely. You've got siblings who are affected by this. I mean, the whole family dynamic. Sometimes parents will literally move, trying to just stay connected to their child, but then they're moving siblings and disconnecting them from their community. There's just no easy answer when the only answer is to go out of state.
Yeah, it sounds like a really big, difficult domino effect in some ways. And Scott, help us understand too, what are some of the challenges that these youth are facing, and how common is it for them to have to be sent away out of state to get the help that they need?
Yeah, well, the second part, it's very common for them to need to go out of state. We know we have some data on some of the kids. We don't know how many kids their parents are actually finding the resources for them, or their insurance is covering it. What we know is that the poorest of kids, those that are on Medicaid, really don't have options in Idaho. And right now there are over 120 Idaho kids being covered by Idaho Medicaid, being treated in states all across the United States. So these kids are struggling with a lot of things. By the time they need residential treatment, they've tried other things. Their family has tried other things, outpatient therapy, group work, and things like that. And they need more help. And they are suffering from things like anxiety and depression and PTSD. And we're gonna be able to serve all of that here. And we're gonna be able to take a lot of those kids home. So this is gonna be a 64-bed facility focused on meeting those mental health and physical health needs of Idaho's kids.
And Ruth, help us one more time understand what that is going to mean to these families, to those parents, to be able to keep their kids here at home and get the help that they need.
Well, it's huge. Number one, it's a message to families. We in Idaho want to take care of you. We see your struggle and we have answers for that. That's a huge message, because parents frequently get just the opposite message. So just to feel supported in this tremendous decision to get this level of care for your child is really, really important.
And Scott, for those watching, if they want to be a part of this, if they want to help build the future here to keep Idaho's kids home, bring them home, what do they do?
Well, they can do a number of things, but one thing, that message that Ruth talked about, we want every Idahoan to be a part of it. We've gone public with our campaign. We still have funds we need to raise. So every Idahoan, every citizen, every business owner, everybody involved with a foundation, if they can help support this campaign, we would love it. Also, share the information with others. Tell them what's going on with Idaho's kids, and go to bringidahoskids.home.org to find out how you can be a part of it.
I think it would have made all the difference for him to have an opportunity to come have some significant long-term day-to-day therapies, and he just never had that chance. To have him this close, for him to not feel like he had to go far away to find that peaceful place. Yeah, I hope someone else, like my porter, finds some comfort here.
Ruth, as the Executive Director of the Idaho Federation of Families and as a parent, what are the challenges that you see for Idaho's youth today?
They maintain very busy schedules. School is a pressure. Not everybody learns the same. So there's so many youth for whom school is a source of great anxiety. And then just fitting into the social culture can be quite difficult and lead to more anxiety, depression, etc.
How important is it that they receive the help they need here at home?
Well, it's critical, and it's critical mostly because the goal is that they will go home, and in most cases, having their families involved in the therapeutic treatment is going to make all the difference for them. Sending them to another state means they're getting treatment elsewhere. Their family can't necessarily be a part of it, and then they're plunged back in without that being seamless for them.
What's a message you want to say to them?
You are not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. You are having health issues. We want to show kids this is not a place for shame. This is a place for us to step in and support.
And there's an opportunity to heal here at the new Idaho Youth Ranch Residential Center for Healing and Resilience. And it's something that begins the minute that they arrive, right, Scott? In reference to what we're standing in front of right here.
Right, this is a great symbol of what these families are going through. Because when a family's made the decision for their child that this is the right thing, they've already been through so much. They have tried so hard to help their kids heal. And to come here is really a decision to cross over, to leave their child with us for many months, right? And they're going to cross over this, they're going to have to slow down and make that decision. But the important thing is, everything that happens with those young people while they're with us is to help them cross back to their families, cross back to their communities, their schools, and really cross back to the lives that they can have.
Ruth, help us understand some of those healing opportunities here.
we're out in nature, we're letting kids be kids here. And I think that's what's needed, is a step into something very different. And this is like the ultimate time out in life, to come to this beautiful setting and be able to just focus on being a kid and healing and getting help.
And Scott, here, how are you going to incorporate this type of setting?
It's really important, and we're so fortunate to have these opportunities. So we'll have staff that are highly trained in therapy to deal with young people's mental health challenges and trauma, and they'll be able to incorporate animal husbandry. We already have equine therapy, so our herd of horses. There are raptors that nest here, and we're going to incorporate that into the lives of the kids. So there's just so many great opportunities because of the space we're in.
How can those watching become involved?
If people can give financially, we really need help finishing up our campaign, and they can go to bringidahoskids.home.org.
Thank you for joining us on this journey as we work together to build a solution, help Idaho's kids heal, and bring Idaho's kids home. Please donate today at bringidahoskidshome.org.